Continue. Okay.
About us.
Oh, there she is. Okay, I'll sit here. No, it's okay. No, no, you guys can stop. I'm just here to like amplify your awesomeness.
Yay! I like starting with awesome.
I'll give you a hug later.
So, hey everybody, welcome. Good morning, and we're here kicking off Consensus 2023. Want to thank our partners, Fire, Koi Networks, and Foundership, of course. So, we at Foundership are a Web3 accelerator. We run programs for 3 months helping young startups achieve their next orbit. We provide them with coaching, community, and capital. And we're super excited to be hosting this entire meeting room for the next 3 days. If you are here, you want to do any meetings, feel free to sort of use the room as your private space to meet people and meet us, and also make some noise. So we're here with our first panel for the session for Consensus 2023. Cannot thank Nina and Lisa enough. I sent them one shout out. I was like, hey guys, we're doing something at Consensus. Do you guys want to come in? And they're like, absolutely, let's get on a call. Let's do this. And they've pulled together awesome set of speakers, awesome set of participants. So thank you. Thanks, Nina. Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Very brief about us on Crypto Tutors. So Crypto Tutors is an online cryptocurrency educational platform that was founded in 2020 by a diverse group of professionals. They're all here, and they're basically specialized tutoring services to individuals, businesses, and communities that want to increase their knowledge and understanding of cryptocurrency, Web3 as we call it today. And I think what they're doing is sort of what's most important for us as an industry, because unless we all get users, we know we don't go forward as an industry, right? So we need, and I look at like data from 1995, 1999, and there's like 2.5 million computers connected to the internet. And I'm like, hey, that's like how many people have a ledger today, or how many people use a cold wallet today, right? So we're getting there, and we're all taking our effort. We're making these small, tiny moves to make it there. And thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Lisa for taking this panel forward. Thanks.
Thank you.
Woo!
Awesome. Okay, we need a mic for the panelists. Excellent. Well, first and foremost, I think that each of you being here, your presence, your energy, we are very grateful for. Our illustrious panelists, who I'll be introducing momentarily. Super excited to have you all here. I am Lisa Francoeur, the co-founder and chief revenue officer of Crypto Tutors. We are a Web3 education company. Coincidentally, we won an award here last year for responsibly onboarding underrepresented communities to Web3. So this is a really crucial space for us, because we recognize that one of the biggest barriers to entry is education. And that's also too why we've brought these panelists to have a discussion regarding the business of blockchain. Now, before we dive into today's discussion, I want to set the stage. This conversation will revolve around the business aspects of blockchain tech. The participants will shed light and discuss various applications, opportunities, and challenges related to blockchain in the business world. They'll highlight the potential benefits of blockchain, what they're building on chain, and we'll dive deeper into the emergence of decentralized finance, DeFi. Here's the thing, and I know each of us know this because we're here at Consensus, where, you know, the most progressive thinkers in this space, we come together and commune each year. The reality is we are seeing exponential growth in the usage of Web3 technologies, both by early adopters, such as the folks in this room, as well as by some of the largest consumer and B2B brands in the world. So, with that being said, let's get started. My first panelist is Rena Shah, not necessarily in order, but that's fine, because ladies first.
Yeah.
She's the head of operations and strategy at Trust Machines, a company building the largest ecosystem of applications on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Woo!
Yes, because it's really expensive to do that. I think that deserves a round of applause.
Yeah.
Previously, Rena was the head of exchange at Binance US, where she grew the exchange from 30 million to 3 billion
Woo!
in daily trading volume within 18 months. She spent, interestingly enough, and we're in Texas, the oil state, she spent her early career offshore on drilling rigs while spinning up Bitcoin mining pools. Notably, she managed a $300 million energy portfolio at the family office of the Houston Texans. Let's give her a round of applause.
Woo!
She's like, no big deal. That's why she's here. Adam Lowe, Ph.D., Chief Product and Innovation Officer at Arculus. From the government labs in the Defense Department to the burgeoning blockchain market, Dr. Adam Lowe has been on the cutting edge of innovation. Dr. Lowe, Adam Lowe, what? Adam, okay. Because we have personal rapport, so Adam created Arculus, and this is just a fun fact. named for the Roman god of safes and strong boxes, a next-gen digital security platform giving people the power to secure and control their digital assets and identities. Arculus is known for their cold storage wallets and their 3FA tech. But what most people do not know is the Compo Secure is their parent company that manufactures almost all metal credit cards.
Woo!
Thought you should know. Ikechi, how do you say your last name? Nwabuisi. Okay, let's pretend I didn't say that. Ikechi Nwabuisi, my Nigerian brother from another mother, former VC wealth manager and ex-NFL player. He has over 5 years building social apps. He's been in blockchain since 2015. In 2018, Ikechi founded TRiBL, which we'll unpack. He was included in Techstars 2019. He is a recognized leader with publications within Black Enterprise, Yahoo Finance, Afro Tech. He is an active member in the crypto communities. And this you didn't have, but I wanted to call out, tip my hat off to you. He's one of the top 100 most influential people of African descent as part of the United Nations International Decade of People of African Descent. Let's give him a warm
Woo!
round of applause. Excellent. We're gonna have fun today. Let me tell you what this panel has that, I mean, not to compare, but yeah. Not to compare, but to compare. And that's energy. So here's a question I want to pose to all of the panelists, and whomever wants to take it, please. In your own words, can you tell us about your companies and how you're currently leveraging blockchain to drive innovation?
Sure. So Arculus.
Is that working?
Says it's on. I really don't need a mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case.
So Arculus really has Web3 at its absolute core. And the reason we have to do that is we're multi-chain. So whether you're a fan of Bitcoin, whether you're a fan of Polkadot, whether you're a fan of BSC, we have to integrate across all those chains. And that also means that with things like Wallet Connect, we have to be able to talk to all those chains. So we really want to be a easy to use, easy to understand cryptography engine that you can use in your everyday life. You can tap a card at Target and pay for your goods. You can tap an Arculus card and work with Web3. Because if we're going to onboard those next millions and millions of users onto your favorite blockchain, it has to be that easy. So that's why you see things like the Ethereum network going to account abstraction. And that's why you see all of these chains trying to make a single entry point. So we want to be a single hardware wallet that absolutely anybody can use. And so Web3 permeates Arculus, and it really is at our core and helping to drive business to everyday people.
Awesome.
Cool. So, that's all right, no worries.
Okay.
Trust Machines is a Bitcoin product studio. We build products directly on Bitcoin, whether they be for institutions or retail alike. In our opinion, a lot of people came into crypto, they bought Bitcoin, they sold Bitcoin probably too early, then they had to rebuy back again. But most people only think of Bitcoin as an asset, but they don't actually think about the power of the Bitcoin blockchain and what you can do with it. We are very similar to Consensus of we are going to fill the gap of products to create tools and products directly for Bitcoin so that we can onboard the next 1 billion people to Web3.
Lisa, share the microphone for the live stream if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sure.
Again, I'm Ikechi. I'm founder of TRiBL. TRiBL is a social LP network for a community. Essentially, we help friends and family pull and invest with their friends through a group chat. If you think about DAO as a group chat with a shared bank account and cap table, as my guy DT would say, then you can think about TRiBL kind of as a Web 2.5 Discord for DAOs. Ultimately, very similar to what my guy Adam was over here saying, like, it's all about making that process really frictionless for our users to get onboarded. And so we do not use a traditional Web3 wallet. You got to store a bunch of various words, unlock, and for us, it's all about having that enter in your email, unlock a wallet, eventually KYC, depending on the type of investments that you're getting involved with. And the reason why blockchain became so appealing for me personally is because I'm of Nigerian descent, first generation. I grew up watching my family struggle to send money back home. to Nigeria every single year. Started obsessing about building a technology solution that could help solve for that, but also saw them making investments back home and wanted to get other people involved into that. Over time, I ended up going out to China and coming across this app called WeChat. For those who have come across WeChat, it's kind of like WhatsApp meets Cash App, but it's so much more. And so with that, in 2017, kind of set me on this journey of I really wanted to build a community messaging app and slap a digital wallet into it. That sounded very crazy in 2017, and it seems to make a lot more sense in 2023. So I'm super excited about it. Excited about growing the overall community.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's also an aspiration to, by 2030, have $1 billion of assets
Yeah, for sure.
within the pool.
For sure.
Okay.
Woo! Woo!
And you know, one of like the resounding themes is about that concept of like frictionless. Like, how can we streamline? How can we enhance UXs to make it as simplistic as possible? We can't onboard billions of people if the complexities remain. And each of these individuals and the organizations that they work for are building real solutions. So I just wanted to call that out. So what's an example of a company leveraging blockchain that's doing a great job? And yes, you can talk about yourselves. And any examples of companies that are not doing a great job, because essentially we'd love the attendees to walk away with like examples of best practices and maybe not so best practices.
So two Web3 companies I'm intrigued by, Orange DAO. So YC alum came together and basically started an investor DAO using blockchain to do so, which I think the overall hype of Web3 allowed them to like very quickly galvanize a community around it. But ultimately now are driving investment opportunities into probably some really elite deal flow. And so shout out to them for doing that. And then secondly, Tech Runs DAO. I'm a super big fan of Tech Runs DAO. It's basically like tech people who love basketball as well have built a community. They have a membership token that gives you access to their events. They do amazing things. NFT NYC, you know, they bring in an exclusive group of people, great community, and they do a great job just building network and ecosystem. On the negative side, I have nobody I want to shit on today. Personally. Check back with me in a couple of years, and I might have more to say.
For me, there's like a couple different examples. One would be from like the traditional markets of what I came from. So oil. I used to be a petroleum engineer, and I advised a lot of different companies on how to use blockchain-based technology to create microgrids so that when you flare gas, you're going to mine Bitcoin and then recycle that energy so we're not releasing to the environment. A lot of that energy ended up using for emergency operations here in Texas when we got hit by tornadoes and hurricanes. That excess energy via blockchain microgrids was deployed before the Texas National Grid could handle it. So it's a kind of a really interesting way to use open source technology via blockchain to actually impact human life every day. One of the other examples that I feel is somewhat like fun, so not say like more businessy, but there is a startup called Gamma. They are an NFT marketplace, but they've created a way that you can create NFTs with no code. So it's leveraging blockchain to create the membership NFTs for either your company so that you all can have a community sense, because a lot of us are building companies in a remote distributed setting, but to have like that kind of fun social element at work while not being present is helpful. Oh, for the negatives, I think there are a lot of places where blockchain technology could be helpful, but you have to think about whether it should be permissioned or not. So many companies are building solutions maybe for like trading ops or things like that on permission networks, but that is helpful in that regard, but it kind of defeats the purpose of building something openly. I don't necessarily think everything needs a blockchain, but if your company basically reaches more than one person, I would suggest to build openly.
That's great. It's hard to follow up natural disaster prevention. But, I think one
one great example of good Web3 implementation, and they have a booth here, is Change Finance. So that's a customer of ours. They do really great cross-chain liquidity. So as we try to onboard people around the world, you can hop from chain to chain to chain as you want to move your tokens around. And I think that it's one of the best implementations I've seen of really broad chain-to-chain liquidity implementation, and we're proud to have them as a customer. On the negative side, I'm not going to name anyone specifically, but similar to your point, I've seen a few implementations of blockchains for blockchain's sake, and that's just not positive for anyone, because then you end up having customers with a negative experience around blockchain because it was implemented in a way that it never should have been implemented in the first place. So I would echo your sentiments that we should build openly and deploy blockchain where it makes sense, not in some play-to-earn video game where blockchain never made sense in the first place.
That's thank you for that. And that's actually a great segue to my next question, which is what are the key challenges and opportunities that enterprises face when adopting blockchain tech?
Let me know if going first every time is going to be a thing.
Rena's like, give me that mic.
So I think the major challenge that I see often is compliance. So as soon as you mention to some vendors or businesses that crypto is involved in your business model, there's additional scrutiny that you have to go through with compliance. When things like FTX occur, a lot of things change, even on a state-to-state level, even if it isn't on the national level, that can impact your business. Some of those things we went through all Q1, which were very interesting challenges that we faced. Unique to our business model, in addition, on the compliance side, is the KYC. KYC can be done in somewhat frictionless manners, but whenever you run a crypto business, at times, depending on your vendor, the level of KYC information needed is, again, something that most retail consumers are just not going to go through without a clear understanding of the value on the other side. And I think on the other side of that, the opportunity is, again, I think if you're building in this market right now, you're setting yourself up for a lot of success, because I still think the future of commerce is going to be driven by digital assets and digital payments. And so I think the major opportunity, more than investing into any of these assets, is building what they call it, the shovels and the et cetera, that ultimately help to bring this ecosystem alive.
For me, I think part of the challenge is actually American regulation. So I will go there. There was a hearing maybe within a week ago, and the words regulatory Game of Thrones was thrown out because no one can figure out whether a certain the second biggest blockchain is a security platform or not. So it makes you wonder just the way that as we work with our regulators, how are they viewing blockchain absent from the token aspect of the currency of the chain to pay for the network fees and gas? What I think is kind of a challenge with that is that there's no one size regulation that fits all, especially for what the various cases our businesses are building. And so it's tough because many instances will require you to register as an MTL or a virtual currency license. But if you were just building NFTs, there is no need for you to be a currency business or anything like that. So it's just tough in that regard. What I think is also a challenge for just building with blockchain is scalability. A lot of these chains are limited on how many transactions they can process within a given time and keeping the chain secure and durable at all times. Our company is building with Bitcoin blockchain, which is the most decentralized and secure, but there is the aspect of I have to wait 10 minutes for each block to confirm on Bitcoin. Opportunities ahead, there are L2s for us to continue to build with for Bitcoin. The most prominent L2 that we build with is Stacks, which is a smart contracts layer for Bitcoin. What I also think is the opportunity ahead is there is a lot of network capital just in crypto that is waiting to be deployed. It gives access to resourcing that a lot of people may not have had in just previous walks of life that is a little bit simpler and gives basically the little guy a chance.
Yep.
So I think the greatest current opportunity is getting people from kind of that Web 2, Web 2.5 to your point, into Web 3, depending on the business model. And why I think that's so attractive to consumers is it's giving identity and control back to the individual consumer. So instead of your root identity coming from Google, instead of your root identity coming from Microsoft or Apple, with us, you get to start with a digital key to control your digital life. So instead of usernames and passwords, that root identity and that root key comes from you. And if you're in Web 2, in the same way we can sign an Ethereum or Bitcoin transaction, we can sign what's called a WebAuthn transaction, which is essentially a key-based way to log into Web 2. So we can start people in that journey. It's still centralized, but at least you're using digital keys and you're maintaining your identity. And then as you journey into full Web 3, where you're controlling master keys and things that are slightly more complicated, you can choose to have that journey. But the important thing is you've maintained control the whole way. You weren't relying on Google, you weren't relying on Apple, you weren't relying on Microsoft. And I think that's that big opportunity, and a lot of people around the globe can relate to that freedom and desire for control and wanting to take back their digital lives from these conglomerates.
It's like we rehearsed this, because that's like the perfect segue into the question I want to ask you, Adam, specifically. How does blockchain tech impact data privacy, security, and governance within enterprises? And of course, expound on how Arculus is helping.
Sure. So in terms of privacy, you can be as private as you want to be and as private as the chain allows you to be. So some chains are certainly more privacy focused than others. Some are much more public. Your chain address stays static. So on something like Ethereum, some people put your full name.eth, register that their domain name. I don't recommend that personally, but that is a life choice that you can make. It is true. That said, blockchain, because it's apublic and permissionless, it's there forever. So that is huge in governance, that anybody can see it, anybody can see what you've done or what your company's done, and that equal access makes it fantastic. You're also controlling it with digital keys, so it is trustless and in some ways implemented zero knowledge, right? A lot of people throw that around without fully understanding what that means. But you don't have to trust someone. You can cryptographically prove you did what you did, and that's what that means at the end of the day. So that openness and that digital proof of action is what makes blockchain so important and what maintains the governance so important. And so what Arculus is doing in that space is trying to abstract away the complexity while keeping the security rigor. So here we've presented you this hardware device that uses the same type of cryptography and the same type of secure chips that are used in passports and billions of payment cards around the world. So there are billions and billions of payment cards issued every year. They've never been penetrated in the entire history of EMV capable chips. And those are the same types of chips that we use in Arculus. So we want to take that level of security, take away the complexity, and give people a hardware device that everyone can use and keep you safe and keep that governance for companies and individuals safe.
Thanks, Adam. And Rena, this is for you. So Trust Machines is building the largest ecosystem of Bitcoin applications to maximize the value of the Bitcoin network. Why is it the most durable blockchain, in your opinion, to build on for high value transactions?
We only build on Bitcoin because Bitcoin still to date is the most secure blockchain. I know I'm going to get roasted for this, but proof of work actually has a purpose. Once you have settled in that 10-minute block, it is immutable forever and no one has any control to change it. What we like about Bitcoin is that as you continue to add to proof of work and scale the economy for Bitcoin, you are adding to the network security budget. To hack Bitcoin and to reorg Bitcoin, you need 51%. 51% of 500 billion is pretty expensive for a lot of people to try to hack. We really just think that having a chain that has no clear force behind it, you have core developers who contribute, you open source but there is no one singular centralized party that controls Bitcoin. And if you think about why Bitcoin was created in 2008, it came about because banks failed us at that point. You needed trust without centralization. Bitcoin was the first blockchain to kind of put that out there for building openly, trusting each other through peer-to-peer without knowing who the other side was. It reorged the way we think about how should we build systems going forward and applications going forward in a way that you don't have to trust me, you don't have to trust your government or your regime or anything like this because this is an alternative rail.
Yeah, that's a huge undertaking, and it's awesome to see that you guys are leading the charge. This next question is for Ikechi. So TRiBL is a community of money pooling. It's a money pooling platform, and you're building a bridge between Web3 and the culture. I really like that because part and parcel to your mission is to help empower Black and Brown communities that have often been excluded from wealth generation, creation, etc. Tell us a bit more about how your platform is allowing participants to have more control, how it's promoting that greater autonomy, transparency, and trust.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's two themes to like call out major changes that happened over the last 10 years. I think the first one was President Obama signing in the Jobs Act. And the Jobs Act ultimately democratizing access to private investment opportunities that traditionally this emerging LP class did not have access to. And then that's like the policy side of things. And then on the technology side of things, all of a sudden your everyday retail investors started being able to invest directly from their pocket, whether that was Robinhood or Coinbase, these crowdfunding platforms that ultimately emerged. And what we've done with TRiBL is we have now democratized access to these private market investments, but through the lens of a community. So an individual or a couple of individuals come together, they have access to a unique deal, and they want to syndicate it to their broader community network. And so now their network is aware of the kind of deals that they have access to. They can actually vote to actually make the investments as a collective, but they all have access to that community wallet. They can talk through the deal flow right there in the chat, and ultimately you continue to build credibility as you introduce more and more deals. And so uniquely, the first deal that we got when we launched TRiBL last summer was an investment opportunity into this unicorn startup. They're raising $130 million at a $1 billion valuation. They wanted to get more Black LPs on the cap table, so they connected with us, and they let us syndicate the deal directly on TRiBL. Since then, we've gotten access to a lot more exclusive deals, typically oversubscribed deals that typically have like really high minimums and fast closes. And they made this exception because they care about that social impact narrative. They care about being able to say like they've been intentional about bringing Black and Brown people to the cap table, or bringing the culture to the cap table, as we like to say. And in this journey, the trust is ultimately built from a community standpoint. It's built as each individual within our community continues to build their brand, build their credibility as a professional, as an individual, but also being able to demonstrate that to the broader community with a governance process that's kind of run by the platform.
So, final remarks. What do you see as the future? What do you see as the future prospects of blockchain tech for enterprises? And what are the emerging trends and opportunities that businesses should be aware of? Adam, I'm gonna pass this one to you because I feel like you're like, yeah. Okay, so what do you see as the future prospects for blockchain technology for companies? And if there are any emerging trends you want to call out, please do. Yeah.
Sure. So we're so new, we've still been focused on, and I mean we as the community, not Arculus, building the infrastructure for this, right? Just getting it to work, getting it usable for everyone. But I think companies, and you can see this from Nike to LVMH and others, really are figuring out Web3 for their brand. and how to use things like NFTs and just a Web3 presence, and figuring out that it's instantly distributable and very cost-effective means to get to individuals that have signed up for your brand. So I think companies and the enterprise are figuring out that they can directly reach consumers with this. And then for people more like pharma and things, it's the classic supply chain scenarios, et cetera, that really are highly effective. And there are some great companies out there that can help large corporations, really take hold of their supply chain for blockchain and Web3, and do it in a permissionless and public way that everybody can audit. So I think that people are starting to figure that out, and it's going to be real. And the bottom line is, I'm a huge free market advocate, and in the right scenarios, which are many scenarios, it's faster, cheaper, better. And like that will always win. Free market forces will always win.
So I'm going to go back to banking. When you think about everything going on in the world, many of us might have got cut off from our banks 3 months ago when a couple of them were shut down and some of us could not make payroll. So I'm going to think about what's important for me to use blockchain technologies to open up capital markets to everybody. It shouldn't be restricted to an elite group of investment bankers to make private deals for everyday retail folks. We at Trusted Students are building a decentralized lending protocol on Bitcoin. Anybody can access a loan on our platform given a variety of rates. What makes this platform special is that to put collateral for your loan, it will only take Bitcoin. 4% of the world currently owns Bitcoin, and that number is growing. Again, you don't have to hold a singular whole Bitcoin, but you can own fractionalized elements, meaning no one can take away your right to buy Bitcoin. You don't need a broker or anything like that. If you have Bitcoin, we are willing to lend to you to get access to a US dollar equivalent through a stable coin. Having those markets for emerging markets, especially for like my home country of India, is really important because oftentimes most people won't have bank accounts and all they have is a mobile phone. So this is democratized access to real capital where you don't have to go through a cumbersome process because it is permissionless.
Yeah, I'm gonna triple, quadruple down on what you're saying. Ultimately, and again, part of this is due to my own cultural experiences. As you guys see, I'm rocking the fuck a VC shirt, but it can very easily be applied to fuck a bank. And the bigger message that we want to get across is that where blockchain technologies provide this unique opportunity for the community to become the bank, for the community to become the VC, especially within these communities that have not been able to participate in the capital ecosystem. And so we see blockchain technology as an opportunity to create a more healthy capital ecosystem. If we could do the job on the educational side, working with people like crypto tutors to get people to truly understand the powers of this technology and simultaneously build a solution that's frictionless, ultimately we are building this kind of revolutionary group of investors who help us create a more healthy capital ecosystem. So that's what it's all about. That's what I'm really excited about. And whether it's India, Nigeria, Brazil, etc., people in those regions need this most. And I think the diaspora here really has the opportunity to kind of become the bank to those individuals in their home countries, etc.
Excellent. Thank you to each of you for imparting your wisdom and speaking to the practical applications of how this technology is being harnessed. We are in a space where it's still it's nascent. We are just in the beginning phases. And the only way that we can drive mass adoption and reach a point of critical mass is through, as I mentioned, simplicity. Each of you in your own respective businesses, from what you're doing at Arculus to what you're doing at Trust Machines to what you're doing at TRiBL, are offering ways to onboard folks in a systematic way, in a frictionless way. And I tip my hat off to you. There's a saying that I trademark, so we'll put that out there. If you want to predict the future, you have to create it. So thank you for making a better tomorrow today.
Woo!
Yeah. And if you'd like more educational resources, I know somebody who knows somebody, Crypto Tutors, who has some books over there, our Crypto Picture Dictionary that will give you guidance on some of the terminology. That can also be a barrier to entry. We will also be speaking later on today at the Women in Web3 Lounge. You can ask us anything, it's an AMA. And then Nina, you're gonna be doing a panel on Friday, diversity in Web3 at 11:30 in this room.
Yep. And then tomorrow, both of us here.
And then tomorrow we're doing something here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
What time?
11:30.
11:30, okay, I promise I rehearsed this. Nonetheless, I thank each of you for joining us here today. Please connect with each of the panelists. We thank you for being a part of the community, and let's keep rocking and rolling.
Woo!